Welcome to the Still Curtain podcast. It's Sunday, October 12th, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are 4-1 after a 23-9 win over the Cleveland Browns at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Mike Tomlin is now 27-6 in his career against rookie quarterbacks after dismantling third-round rookie Dillon Gabriel. I'm Josh Yourish, joined as always by Mark Powell from FanSided.com. And workman-like performance. This is what the team leading the AFC North is supposed to do to the team that's in yet another rebuild and at the bottom of the division.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking off show, just like, trying to find, we're just like, is there any like prevailing storyline from this game that you'd be super concerned about? And it's, this was a pretty pedestrian win, kind of one that we've been waiting for from this team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it were going to happen, it was going to happen this week, right? Off a bye. Tomlin is now, since 2007, I think 15-4 after his bye week. And you mentioned
Pretty
the
good.
rookie QB stat, which I also had on tap. So you beat me to that. I think at home, I'm going to get you here. At home, I think 16-1 at home against rookie QBs. So now I could be off there, but I think I did count that right. So honestly, this is what we should have gotten. And it's a performance that I feel like a lot of Steelers fans have kind of been waiting for, to kind of validate some of their early season hope, because like a lot of these wins so far have been pretty close. So it was nice to see.
Yeah, the lack of excitement is exciting to me. Like, they just kind of handled business, right? There are nits that I will definitely be picking.
Mm-hmm.
If you've listened to this show, I'll find the negatives if they're there. So we'll get into that. But I want to start with the defensive side of the ball, because this is what the defense is supposed to look like. Like, this is what they were building to be dominant in the trenches. And that's a really bad Cleveland offensive line, especially at the tackles. The interior, they're okay. The name recognition kind of outstrips what the production is for the interior three. But their tackles are terrible. The Steelers got Alex Highsmith back. They also got Jalen Ramsey, Joey Porter Jr. Like, they got a lot healthier. Deshaun Elliott out there as well. They got a lot healthier on defense. I loved what they did with the NASCAR package with Highsmith, Herbig, and Watt all on the field. Got Gabriel into third downs and said, we're putting our fast people out there. We're putting our pass rushers out there. Good luck with this. And he was frankly in hell. What are your takeaways initially about the defensive performance?
Well, I mean, for me, it started pregame. I mean, this is the first time, I don't know if it's the first time ever they've like come out of the tunnel, like, I guess, announcing 3 outside linebackers as starters. I don't know if that was something that you noticed, but it's not something that happens often with this team. Like, usually just, for the last few years, it's been Highsmith, Watt. But yeah, they announced Herbig as like part of this like starter package.
That's my boy.
In a sense.
He's so good.
And
he's so good.
Backed it up, man. 2 sacks, right? So like, like, how do you it was just it was expected, frankly, like off.
That's
once
a
again,
terrible.
Like, I don't want to hype it up too
terrible
much.
Cleveland offense.
Yeah, like, like, I don't want to hype it up too much off a bye against the rookie QB. Herbig's looked awesome so far this year, and they have 3 excellent outside linebackers. The Browns couldn't really keep up. They threw the ball, frankly, way more often than I thought they would. I guess that comes with being behind by so many scores in the second half.
Yeah, I think that's just a game script thing.
But like, there really wasn't a lot of success to be had elsewhere either. So I was honestly, all the pressure was on the Steelers defense this game, and they came up huge. That's it is what you expect from this unit. I definitely want to see it more against better quarterbacks, obviously, but like, this is a nice stepping stone for sure. Like, I don't want to take away from this performance either.
Yeah, just looking at this performance in a vacuum, right? Because I'm one to extrapolate things out. But in the vacuum of this game, They were facing Dillon Gabriel, a rookie quarterback who is it's generous to call him 6 foot tall. He doesn't have the biggest arm. I like Gabriel, like he's
Yeah.
super experienced. I liked him coming out of the draft. This wasn't very pretty. But there were also a ton of drops and he didn't get any help from his receivers. Again, that's a terrible offense. He finished 29 of 52 for 221 yards. That's 4.3 yards per attempt, 6 sacks. And it felt like that was really the game plan. Like the Steelers this year have been blitzing at the second highest rate in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Ramped that up. I mean, I don't know the blitz rate right now. We're going to get the numbers coming out, tomorrow and beyond. They really ramped it up. They really brought a lot of pressure. I thought they did it in cool ways. Kevin Stefanski likes to use condensed sets and have receivers close to the formation. Okay, we're going to blitz Jalen Ramsey. Like he's got a closer path to the quarterback. You can do a lot of that stuff. I think they mixed things up with different stunts. They had their linebackers mugging and occasionally they drop them out. Occasionally they'd bring them. It's everything you do to a rookie quarterback, especially one who's that short. And because it felt like too, sometimes you're blitzing a lot and you're living in man, and they played a fair bit of man today. You're living in man and single high safety and explosives are available. And Gabriel in college, when he was blitzed, he torched teams. He had better receivers relative to competition. But he can hit deep shots. Like he's a super accurate deep ball thrower. Didn't see it today. The Steelers kind of still played shell zones, they kept a lot of deep safeties. They weren't bringing safeties into the box. There was just a ton of space in the middle of the field. And I think when you saw Gabriel's completions, it was slants. It was all that stuff in the middle. That was by design. It seemed like, hey, make this short guy throw over top of our big bodies, and then we're just going to light up their receivers. And they did an awesome job. Like that game plan executed to a T. You created chaos at the line of scrimmage. I've been begging for bespoke game plans. Coming out of a bye week, it's easier. But this was different stunts, twists, different blitz looks, activating Ramsey as a blitzer. I don't really have any complaints. Like the Browns dropped a lot of passes, and I think a better receiving core can hurt you a lot more with this game plan. But this is also, again, I'm looking at this in a vacuum because that's kind of where it exists. This is not a game plan they're going to take and play. Maybe they'll play it next week against maybe Flacco. Like I think Flacco would kind of carve them with this because he's just going to see the blitz, know where the vacant spot is, and hit his hot route. But they're not going to play this way the rest of the season. They said, let's just eat the kid alive. And they did an excellent job of it.
Yeah, I was definitely, I'd say, just encouraged by, the not just the game plan, but like the execution. They had 6 sacks. They had 8 passes batted down at the line of scrimmage. Like, that's just knowing your opponent, and you do expect that coming off a bye. But what I've what I've come to expect from the Steelers team is like what I expect isn't always what happens defensively, especially the last year and a half. So to actually see it come to fruition, like I said, I always take the opponent into account. I'll take Joe Flacco into account next week as well. But I hope that, even in a short week, this coming week, I hope that they had time to kind of prep for these two opponents. It's still division games, huge games, when you factor in this early division lead that they've gotten now, especially with the Ravens losing today, which, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves on the pod. I'm sure that'll come up at some point, but just really happy overall for sure. I think the tight ends for the Browns made a bit of an impact. They had close to 110 yards receiving. So middle of the field was something to be concerned about, but you're going to give something up when you're blitzing that often, so you just kind of have to take what you can get there, I think. And obviously it worked overall. So I don't want to get too bogged down in that either.
Yeah, no, it felt very by design, and they never got burned by it. There were never really any explosive plays created.
Yeah.
They tackled well. Right? This team early in the season, they were not fitting the run well. it felt like they were getting gashed constantly on the ground, and they weren't tackling well in the second or third level. Getting Deshaun Elliott back healthy, right? He didn't miss those first games when they were really bad, but getting him back healthy is definitely a plus. He led the team with 12 tackles, but they're playing more sound football. And again, I come on here a lot and bash Mike Tomlin. This is the Mike Tomlin thing. Like, if there are issues early in the season, they will largely get cleaned up, especially when those issues are like coaching points in terms of midweek, like fundamentals and run fits. And they have, like, it just right now, it looks like a well-coached veteran team, and that's what it's supposed to be. On the sack numbers, because I have a question I want to pose to you, and I think you know my answer. Jalen Ramsey finished with 2 sacks. TJ Watt got a half a sack. He celebrated it like it was a whole one. I'm not ripping on TJ, but I just thought that was funny. Derek Harmon got a sack. Alex Highsmith had a half sack. And your boy, Nick Herbig. I got the Badgers hat on. So that could be TJ. That could be JJ.
Gotcha. Yeah. Benton, could be whatever you want. Could be whatever you want.
But this is for Herbig. You know that. Who, in your opinion, right now is the Steelers' best pass rusher?
Oh, man. That's just a tough question to answer because, like, you have to factor in like the the like protection packages that they're facing regularly.
Yes, you do.
I think in terms of production, I mean, it's Herbig. It just has to be, right? But like, if they started doubling Herbig and Watt had one-on-ones every play, you could see it flip, which is part of why this, mixing in 3 outside linebackers who are blitzing like this, having them all in the field at once.
And they looked
is something
fresh.
that,
like Herbig and Watt
just what we
played
need.
so many snaps with Highsmith out, and they looked super fresh today.
Yeah, so like I don't want to non-answer this one, because like
there's a lot of
definitely get your question, but I just love this game plan, man. Like it's part of why I was kind of like, usually I want the bye week like closer to midseason, maybe later in the year, just to get more rest heading towards the playoffs. But like after how they started this year, and like I don't know, you and I kept going on the show, we were kind of picking apart these defensive flaws, and I think rightly so, frankly. It was just it was nice to see them make these like early season adjustments and have it pay off so quickly. So yeah, Herbig production wise, definitely the best. He has youth on his side.
He's got burst, man. He's quick off
He's got
the ball.
burst.
Like I love everything.
I love what I'm seeing from him. I love what I'm seeing from him. So like I don't want to discount what he's doing.
You're not discounting him by picking maybe the greatest defensive player in Steelers history.
Is still their best pass rusher because he draws double the lineman most of the time. But in terms of like production, being willing to move around. I mean, I feel like I saw Herbig move around in formation more than Watt or Highsmith this game, and really this season overall. So,
they can use him in a lot of ways, and like, get him matched up on a guard if you can create any space. No chance they're going to be able to stay with the speed he has. His hands are so good coming off that. I love him. He's so good. And maybe this is a more fair question then. Is, as I put this up, Grayson Brown checking in from the chat. If you're in the chat, welcome. We love having you. We love hearing from you. Maybe this is more of a fair question to ask then. And because they took care of business, I think we can go in like these directions early on in this pod. Who is the best edge rusher opposite TJ Watt since 2017? Because I would take right now Herbig, like over Bud Dupree, over any version of Highsmith. Like that's really the competition. And if we're saying, okay, Watt is drawing the doubles, Watt is drawing everything else, who would you best want opposite him in their best version, we can say. I'm taking Highsmith. Like, I think he is ridiculously good and going to have like maybe a 15 sack season.
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw what happened to Bud when he left. I don't want to insult Bud too much.
He also got injured, in fairness to him, but yes, I think
that's not all on him for sure.
But the most a product of TJ.
Yeah, I also trust the Steelers front office, especially when it comes to edge rushers, to know when, like, okay, we can afford to let this guy go, and next man up mentality. So probably not Bud. Yeah, my answer is still Highsmith at his best, but Herbig is like really, really,
Yeah.
the fact that he's making this a conversation this early in the year, speaks volumes about his ability. And I think teams are going to start to have to get, they're going to start to have to game plan for him, and that's going to just create opportunities for Highsmith and Watt
And Harmon and
other
Hayward
Harmon,
and
Hayward,
Benton,
other
who
guys
has
on this
looked better
defensive line.
when he's not a nose anymore.
Yeah,
Like, he's still
yeah.
playing nose some, but when they get him to 3 tech and playing defensive end, he looks a lot better.
This pass rush, man.
This was the
This pass rush.
This was the build, and I've talked about it going, like, back to last offseason, like, all of the time I've been on this pod. How do you get out of purgatory in the NFL? And I'm not saying the Steelers are out of it. I am not saying that at all. But their plan,
we were so close.
We are not close to saying that.
So close.
You're not going to catch me saying that after beating this Browns team. But you do it by loading up in these incredibly valuable position rooms and creating like super strengths, right? That's how a lot of teams can get themselves out of the middle, because most teams go from the middle to the bottom to the top. And if you're trying to go from the middle straight to the top, you got to draft incredibly well. Like, it's super difficult. It's hard to do without a quarterback. But if you're going to try to do it, in my opinion, load up on both lines of scrimmage. We haven't seen that come to fruition on the offensive side. But I think bringing in Andy Weidel from Philadelphia, like with Omar Khan, that was clearly the MO. Let's just beef this up. Drafting Derek Harmon, they're doubling down on it as Hayward is aging. And I think that is the biggest strength of this team. And it showed up today against, again, a bad offensive line and a rookie quarterback. Like, this is still a team that beat up on Dillon Gabriel and beat up on Carson Wentz and a super injured Vikings offensive line that was nearly playing tight ends at tackle and got gashed for the most part, other than turnovers, by the Patriots. And they look a lot better, but by the Jets and by the Seahawks. So, like, we're not talking about one of the best defenses in the NFL. I'm not willing to go there yet, but they're rounding into shape where I feel a lot more confident about the situation. And this was always the idea, right? So I'm just pleased with the performance today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, as you should be. To your point about the Browns, this was a team that I read there was a report in The Athletic, I think it was Diana Rossini, after they traded Joe Flacco, a rival exec said that the Browns had given up on the season. So, look, I don't think they've given up. I wouldn't go that far. They're still going to win some games. Like,
they have a lot of good rookies. Like, they drafted really well.
They do have some pieces.
Like, they have pieces. That defense is still really good.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to take a huge Browns dump here. I don't, and also,
I mean, we got to head to Cleveland at some point later this season. So now let's talk about the offense, as Grayson brings it up in the chat. The offense looked pretty good. Like, this is still the same offense. This is quick game Aaron Rodgers getting the ball out of his hand really quickly. You got to rely on yards after the catch. The run game is coming around, though. And they're doing it this week. They did it out of shotgun more, which Rodgers wants to do. I feel like there's a push and pull every week of, like, Arthur Smith saying, get under center, and Aaron Rodgers saying, I want to be in shotgun. And we see kind of that ebb and flow throughout the season. But they're running the ball kind of both ways now. Caleb Johnson looked all right in a couple of carries. Late in the game, he didn't really have much running lanes. Jalen Warren looked really good. Kenneth Gainwell had a couple good runs. Like, in the third quarter, I feel like is when they really got some pop and closed the thing out with the run game. I think it was a perfectly fine performance. What are your thoughts?
Same. Yeah, no, I saw some things that I hadn't seen previously. Namely, I don't have Rodgers' time per dropback numbers. I'm guessing overall they probably evened out to pretty much where they were, because that had to be their game plan.
I'm imagining they're well under 3. His time to throw is well under 3 seconds. I don't know if it's going to be like under 2.5 like it has been, but it was quick.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It was quick again.
Yeah, but there were a few more. I did feel like they tested the Browns secondary more than they tested other secondaries. I messaged you in the first half,
Mhm.
right, on that Metcalf throw to the sideline, and I was like, this is Rodgers' best throw of the season. He actually, kind of like a fade down the deep, I think it was the right
Yeah.
side. Really
Really nice,
impressive.
accurate ball.
Yeah. So he had a couple of those to Metcalf. Felt like they, on his touchdown throw to Metcalf, that had an air distance of 41.6 yards, bringing the stats back out.
The verticality is
Look,
important.
yeah. Well, they just need to show that they can do it,
Mhm.
right? Like that's the thing. Like they're not going to beat really good teams, with just this like dink and dunk kind of approach, and not being able to block for Rodgers.
Yeah.
Frankly, that being said, the Browns had no sacks. Did Myles Garrett play today? I'm not really sure.
That tends to be the case against the
Potentially.
Steelers. Like, again,
Yeah.
I think it's mostly Rodgers' time to throw stuff. Like, he's just gonna get it out, and he got it out really quickly.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's not like we saw a highlight tape full of Garrett eating up Roger Jones.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
also
Which I thought we would.
the new Steelers ethos of being gigantic, which I love. But
Yeah.
to the verticality point, because I want to hit on that. I had some thoughts on like, okay, they're stretching the field a little bit. How are they getting to it? Because you're not getting any Rodgers scramble drill stuff.
Mhm.
And to your point about his time to throw, 2.62, which is kind of
A
up
little
there
higher.
for Rodgers now. Like that's not up there for the
Yeah.
NFL. Like that's still really quick. You're operating in the quick game almost exclusively. Um, but they're not getting like explosives off scramble drill. They're not getting long 7-step dropbacks where Rodgers is reading it out and throwing a deep backside dig. Like you're really not seeing that. He's still skittish on that stuff. I think he missed a lot of throws early because he's not stepping into things nearly as much as he used to. And that's okay. Like he's aging. That accuracy is going to go because
Yeah.
the arm strength isn't the same. The one deep ball, duck. But they're able to stretch it because they know teams are gonna key in on the short stuff. They're gonna get aggressive. And the DK double move touchdown, I think was a perfect example of you're playing a lot of man coverage. You're creeping your safeties up. You're biting on everything underneath because that's what we do. Okay, I can still hit you deep, right? I can still burn you deep.
Mhm.
DK ran a really good route, got wide open. Awesome. And then the other thing where they're finding some success creating like manufacturing explosives in the passing game is with play action and with moving the pocket. And I really liked that. Okay, Rodgers doesn't feel comfortable sitting in this muddy pocket. His feet get jumpy. He's 41 years old. I can't blame him. Let's get him on the move a little bit. Let's boot him out. Let's sprint him out. Like, let's move his launch point intentionally so he doesn't have to feel like he's scrambling to get to those. We're kind of creating those for him, right? The very first play of the game was off deep play action. I love the Darnell Washington C-gap insert route. Like, Sean McVay
Yeah.
does a ton of that stuff with Puka Nacua, and you can do it with Puka Nacua because he's an insane blocker as a wide receiver. But you can also do it with Darnell
Yeah.
Washington because guys are terrified to get run over by him. They're bracing for impact and know it's a run. Like, that was great. You're using the aggressiveness of a Jim Schwartz defense against itself. I
Mhm.
again continue to be encouraged by what Arthur Smith does offensively, and I like how they're getting to some of the verticality of the offense that we didn't really see early on. And I was worried wasn't going to exist because in the late iterations of Ben, and that's with Matt Canada, and that's Ben being even less mobile than Rodgers,
Yeah.
but they didn't get to it at all. Like there was just no way to create vertical shots other than 3-step drop, go ball down the sideline. A lot of what Rodgers is doing is that, and that's okay when you can be accurate with it. But you got to find other ways, and the double move and moving the launch point, I think, were their answers this week.
Yeah. I mean, you won't be surprised to hear that this is the most receiving yards of Darnell Washington's career.
I
At
love it. Like
62.
they're just using
I
him
love
so
it.
much. He's
Use him.
so
He's
good.
huge. He's
Yeah.
huge. He can be used either just as an extra
Mhm.
blocker or as a huge target. I loved how they utilized him this week, especially coming off a bye. I think they saw something in the Browns defense and they were like, this is the perfect opportunity. And like, especially when you have Rodgers on the move as much as they
Mhm.
did, Just having that option as a target is great. They utilized 4 tight ends decently today. I mean, you had Jonnu, obviously, is just a constant target. Freiermuth, I don't really know what's going on with their utilization of
I just don't
him.
think there's a
I'm
fit. Like Tommy and Shane
I
on
don't
Wednesday's
know.
show talked
I don't
about, is
know.
it time to trade him? And I thought they did a really good
Yeah,
breakdown of it.
weird.
I think there's not a good fit for him in this offense as like that seam runner, bender, kind of over the middle
Yeah,
vertical shot guy, because Rodgers doesn't want to throw that, and that's not really what Arthur Smith does a whole lot. And
yeah,
then,
yeah.
but I also don't know that I would be itching to trade him because he's still relatively young. I still think he's
Mhm.
relatively good. And I'm kind of treating this season, at least on the offensive side, completely in a vacuum because it feels like this is
Yeah,
just 1 year of Rodgers. Let's
it is.
cobble it
Yeah.
together, see what it looks like, and then go forward in whatever way works best. But so yeah.
Yeah, no, this season is a flyer, so I'm with
Yeah.
you there. Like I'm not like, if they deal him, I assume that they'll have their
Yeah, and
reasons.
I wouldn't
But
hate
even
it,
this
like, get
week,
more draft capital, you're gonna have to
yeah,
trade up for a quarterback. Like, I'm not gonna
yeah,
destroy them if they do it, if you get some, 4th, 5th,
yeah,
something.
yeah,
But I like him better than a 4th round pick right now, so I think you
yeah.
just keep him around. But anyways.
Yeah, but, even this week, yeah, I mean, Hayward caught a
Mhm.
touchdown, you got Freiermuth, you have Darnell having a season high in a or sorry, a career high in receiving yards. I mean, you have Jonnu Smith just being Jonnu Smith. Like, Jonnu Smith is their second best target after DK, so,
2nd
yeah, do
most
you need Freiermuth?
frequent target. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. You don't know if you'd say second
I don't
best to
think
DK?
so. Like he's not breaking tackles like he was last year for Miami. And maybe that's not like they're not putting him in space like Mike McDaniel was, and for all of his faults, he's a really good offensive designer. But I don't know.
Oh, I guess when Calvin's healthy, maybe,
What is
yeah.
an average Jonnu Smith target netting out yards? Like 3? I don't even. I got to look at what his average reception is this season. 1 catch for 10, or 1 rush for 10 yards today, and then 3 catches for 18 yards, 6 yards. A grab if
Yeah.
you're math inclined, and then for the season, he came in averaging 5.1 yards per reception. Like, I don't know. They don't have a ton of targets, but I'd rather
That's what
throw
I'm
them Darnell
saying.
Washington's
Yeah.
way, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think Darnell's better when you've got Jonnu on the other side, kind of as the main receiving threat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I don't hate it. If you're talking about like a move tight end in the slot, I think Jonnu definitely makes more sense than Freiermuth this season, for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
for sure.
on the we'll get to the offensive line stuff because I think that's obviously interesting.
Yeah,
Like they played pretty well. On the Rodgers throw to Hayward, because you mentioned it, that was an awesome throw. And I feel like I've
yeah,
kind of been the Rodgers is washed up, believe me guy. And I still think, every once in a while it's still in there. And that was legit. Like he ripped that back across his body. And that's Rodgers. Like that's why he's, JJ Watt said that's why he's Hall of Famer. Like, yeah, he can
mhm.
pull it back every once in a while. That was a ridiculous throw.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's got those moments in
Mhm.
him, like you said, and like JJ said on the
Yeah.
broadcast. But yeah, he's just the kind of quarterback at this point that you can't ask too much of, and in a game like this, you don't really have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The defense held the Browns to 9 points.
Yeah.
Rodgers is probably going to win that game in this offense at home.
So
That's fine.
I've said we're mostly going to talk about this game in a vacuum, and we did on the defensive side, but I can't help myself.
We
Can
tried.
you? I can't help myself. So we see those flashes, right? We see the DK throw
Yeah,
down the sideline.
yeah.
We see that Hayward throw. PFF initial grading, they changed some of the stuff, but initially it has him graded for 3 big time throws. Like that's no turnover worthy plays. Like that's a pretty legit performance. Can you see are there enough flashes where you go, I
Ugh.
can see it being against a good team? Because they still haven't played a legit good team.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to wait
I
till
do
I see
too.
it. That's my biggest thing. Like, yeah,
I like putting
I
you
don't
in
know,
those
like
tough positions and then I don't have to
no,
answer.
it's but like it's true. Like I don't know, like how like I don't know, like we saw, I ironically it was Russ playing against Rodgers Jets last
Mhm.
year in prime time, and like that had me being like a Russ believer, and I don't want to do that again. Like I don't want to fall for that again.
Yeah,
So
there's
like
more here.
like
There's more
I
with
gotta wait.
Rodgers than there
Oh,
was with Russ,
for
for sure.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't want to. Yeah, like I don't want to. I guess compare the two too much. Like like you said, but like yeah, I definitely need to see it. I think this division, the way things are playing out, and I know we were trying to talk about this game in a vacuum, but don't think it's possible without talking about this
No,
division.
no, we're
Ravens are
definitely gonna dive into that for
yeah,
sure.
Ravens are
Yeah.
bad or have been bad. I still think they have a run in them somewhere, but they have been bad. The Bengals, we'll see how Joe Flacco is, but they play the Packers today, and the idea of him beating the Packers twice in one season is just
That would
hilarious to
be
me.
fantastic. I would hope
Yeah,
then that the
the Browns
Packers
are the
win the
Browns.
Super Bowl because that would just be, like,
Yeah,
the most Joe Flacco stat ever that he just, like
yeah.
it would be awesome.
Yeah, so, like, I don't know if he has to do it against, like, really good teams for the Steelers to, just win the division theoretically and then get a home playoff game, and I
And
guess
then you
at
need
that
your
point,
flashes. Yeah.
it just depends on matchups, yeah, like, could he show it against the defense that has kind of underachieved, but, like, the team still made the wild card round and they're headed to Pittsburgh. Sure, could they do it against a really good defense? That's
And
where I'm kind of
but, I
iffy.
mean, how many the Texans are a really good defense. How many, like,
Yeah,
really good defenses are in the AFC playoff picture? Like, pulling off the top of my head,
I don't
the
know.
Chiefs aren't, like, what they were. Chris Jones is kinda losing a step. That Bills secondary isn't good. The Ravens, I don't know if we can
Yeah,
even consider them in the playoff picture, but that defense is a disaster. So, like, the
yeah,
Colts are cool with Lou Anarumo. They're doing the Lou Anarumo, "We look completely different every week" stuff, but they're not overly
yeah,
talented. So we'll rein it back in. But I think that's
yeah,
an
yeah,
interesting
yeah.
conversation of like, are these flashes that we're getting ultimately going to be enough? I'm encouraged by them nonetheless.
Definitely
Yeah.
encouraged. Yeah, because like I mean, we talked before the season, right? Like we talked about kind of end goal for this team, and I said win a playoff
Mhm,
game. That's literally it. If they win a playoff game, this weird little flyer season where they've got Aaron Rodgers was worth it
mhm.
as much as I maybe don't love it.
Yeah,
Um, you know, and yeah, so it's definitely like I feel better about that possibility now than I did before the season. So I'll just say that
and
for
they
sure.
keep winning games. So we have to kinda talk about the offensive line. I think it's
For
hard to
sure.
do that without talking about the fact that they're playing 6, and if you wanna count Darnell Washington, in a lot of cases, 7 offensive linemen, a lot.
Mhm.
I've
Yeah.
gone deep into, like, why I love this so much. I think it's so cool and innovative and a good way to get into your run game. They ran the ball well, not amazing, 3.6 yards a carry ultimately is what they're gonna finish with. But I I think they're a pretty good offense this way. Like, they're weird enough, and the offensive line continues to get better.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I keep seeing on social about how Miles Garrett got put on Broderick Jones Island, and it just makes me laugh because like that to me that shows kind of a I don't want to say a lack of understanding of how the Steelers offensive line is at this point, but to your point, they're playing a lot of heavy
Mhm.
sets. And I think they're probably helping a lot to someone like Miles Garrett's
Yeah.
side. I would
Yeah,
assume.
we have
I
to
saw
we
it
have
during
to
the
it's
game.
kind of a
Yeah, just
second
gotta take
rewatch
that into
thing,
account,
but yeah.
right? So, like yeah, like, I'm really happy with how the line, played today. Obviously, they didn't give up a sack, and, with Rodgers at this point in his career, like, clearly this line needs help,
Mhm.
right? Like,
And
so,
I think that's fine.
um, that's absolutely
Yeah.
okay because like, it's not like they have a mobile quarterback or even most quarterbacks, frankly, like, most quarterbacks are much younger than Rodgers and can extend
Yeah.
plays, whereas Rodgers just like he's not going to be
There are
able to do
glimpses,
that.
like the flip
He
play to Warren was like,
every now and
"Alright,
then,
yeah."
yeah,
But, that's what we've been talking
yeah,
about.
but like, yeah, like for the most part, no, and like, he has to release the ball quickly, but like, yeah, I don't know. The Steelers have the weapons both at with DK, some of the tight ends, some of the running backs. Jalen's a great receiving
Mhm.
back, just as one example. So like I feel confident in how they're, I guess, approaching the opposing team's pass rush. I think it takes a lot of pre-planning and a lot of execution. I'm curious how it'll look in a short week against Trey Hendrickson, just as one example, if they can still pre-plan enough, because like this is coming off a bye. So Myles Garrett not showing up, which, he was there, but I'm optimistic for sure. Like this was great. Like I don't want to downplay it, but definitely better than I've seen previous weeks. To say the least.
I think there are two things. One, you mentioned the lack of mobility, and it just sparked a thought I had early on. It was a Myles Garrett pass rush where he did this like really hard inside move on Broderick Jones, and he got a pressure out of it. And it didn't end up in a sack. I forget which play exactly it was, but it was early in the first quarter. And I went, oh, that is Rodgers' lack of mobility, allowing these Browns pass rushers to really like do whatever type of twists and counters that they want, because you can dive hard inside and leave a rush lane wide open when you know the quarterback's not going to scramble, right? Like in week 1, we saw Justin Herbert beat the Chiefs because Chris Jones did the exact same thing and he scrambled for 15 yards and won the game.
Yeah.
So that is like a limitation. But again, they're scheming around it, I think, pretty well. And another thought, a couple years ago, it was I don't know exactly what year, but it was like the Dan Moore, Chukwuekorfor, like just bad offensive line. And it was bad, right?
Yeah.
And then it stayed healthy like all year. And it didn't look quite as bad by the end of the season, because there's so much attrition in the NFL, especially in the trenches. And if you're running the same 5 dudes out there every week, they're going to get better, but also they're going to look better relative to everybody else who's playing backups. And I think right now, like we're getting a little bit of both effects of that, where, they're starting to coalesce a little bit better. I think McCormick looks pretty good in the run game. But also they're healthy, and that's meaningful.
Yeah. And like, frankly, here in Pittsburgh, I just feel like we're so used to, like, we don't know how to praise an offensive coordinator. I feel like we don't know what that's like. And I'm by no means saying Arthur Smith is perfect. I'm sure I will have my Arthur Smith complaints before this year is done. But how he is schemed for this offense's inefficiencies, to kind of, mask them a little bit, has been really impressive.
He's super competent. So, like that's not super high praise, right? But compared to what we had before of Randy Fichtner, of Matt Canada, of just these disastrous offenses where nothing's married together, like the run game and the passing game are completely separate, and Canada is just running meaningless jet sweeps because it worked at Pitt. And to go from that to a guy who was legitimately hired as an NFL head coach because of his scheme, because of what he did as a play caller. It's just such multitudes of competence ahead of where they were. And I think that's, you're seeing that a lot. And you're also seeing it, I think last year, the quarterback play was so non-functional that some of those issues came back on Canada, on Smith, as being like, you're not throwing to the middle of the field. That's a Russell Wilson thing. Like there are too many sacks and like long dropbacks and whatever. And like, that's a Russell Wilson thing. And now you're just a lot more competent across the board on offense. It's not perfect, but this game, Kenny Pickett year, this game, Russell Wilson year, gets effed up into a 12-9 win or a 9-5 loss. Like just something so stupid. And it didn't, because they're super competent. And I am really happy. Like I started this saying the lack of excitement excites me because they just handled business. That is ultimately my takeaway on offense. Like it wasn't the most explosive. That's a good defense though on the other side. And they put up 23 points. It wasn't aided by great field position. There were long drives. They strung together. This was not a turnover variance game. Like, they won on all the down-to-down metrics. It is, again, it's hard to find much fault with what they did.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do the Herbig thing to
Okay.
you. What do you think of Broderick's performance? I guess
I need
just like initial.
to. This is such a cop out, but I need to go watch it again, right? Because in the moment, and I'll let you everyone behind the curtain a little bit more. Not just in the moment, like you're watching a game, TV copy, whatever. You can only focus on so many things. The bullets are flying. Also, James Franklin got fired, and my job as a college sports writer, one of my primary beats is our Penn State site, so scramble mode for a little bit. But I got eyes on every play of this game. Do not worry. The pause and fast forward features in YouTube TV are beautiful. So I don't know that I have the greatest answer, right? But I think it's been better. It's been less problematic. They're able to like actually run the ball to the edges, but then so much of that is Spencer Anderson being involved. And I like him in Washington. Like, again, it's scheming around your deficiencies. He's put in less situations for him to look bad. So he looks better. Do I think he's a marginally better player than he was, or meaningfully better player than he was in week 1? No, I don't think so. I still don't think
we can only hope.
Still don't think he's the answer, like long term at left tackle. But
Yeah,
I think he is a player who is, again, just like he clears the bar enough that you can scheme around his deficiencies, maybe one-on-one, and you can let him do some things in space and as a run blocker. There are so many times like he's fine. Again, like he's kind of fine. But then it's so many times you'll watch like a run up the middle and it's a 3-yard thing, 3-yard gain, gets tackled, and there's kind of all the bodies are coming up. And Broderick Jones is just turned backwards, like he's facing Aaron Rodgers. And you're like, how did you end up in that situation? Like as the running back's getting tackled. I don't know. I still am not gonna go out and buy his jersey, but I think it's been better.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I cannot be sold. I do think it's been better for I mean, the last 2 games have not been as bad as the start of the year and most of last year.
And the last 2 games have come against a Brian Flores defense that like heats you up. And I thought Rodgers did a great job in that game, not just getting the ball out quick, like when he knew there was pressure, but setting the protections and doing all that stuff. And then this game is Myles Garrett, and it's not just Myles Garrett now. Like it's Mason Graham on the inside. Like they've beefed up that pass rush elsewhere. And Rodgers, not only, I mean, he had a fairly quick time to throw, but when blitzed, 6 for 8, 73 yards, 9.1 yards per attempt.
Nice.
Like that's, you don't blitz a veteran quarterback kind of thing. Because they're going to get it out so quick. But they were able to hold up, and he was only pressured on 22% of his dropbacks. Again, some of that is time to throw stuff. Some of that is the offensive line looking a little bit better. And I can't deny that it does.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, like I hope that key is getting better. I hope that the tackles are getting better, because if this team is going to, win a playoff game, compete in the postseason,
again, that has to be
just kind of has to.
Yeah,
it just kind of has to, right? So like that's why I'm asking. I'm not just poking you about Broderick.
No.
It's like we need it to get better, or else half of these podcasts are kind of just like talking about a non-playoff team. Then so, or not a non-playoff team, but a team that's not
a real contender.
Not going to do much once they get there.
And I guess that's the best moment. I maybe have more thoughts, but we can save them for when I have better, when I've dug into it and watched it more, specifically with the offensive line. But like you said, like they invested a lot in the offensive line. They need that to be a strength of the team. It's not a strength yet, but it is not a glaring weakness. You mentioned the playoff picture, the everything else. I think it's we got to spin forward a little bit now, because they do play on Thursday at Cincinnati. And then it gets tough with the Packers, Colts, Chargers. But the AFC standings, as you know, the bullets are flying right now and games are going on. The Colts survived, so they're still 5-1. The Bills are 4-1. The Jaguars took another loss, so they're 4-2. Like I'm not just going to read off records, but like the Chiefs are 2-3. The Ravens are 1-5. This division is the Steelers to lose. And that puts them in a situation where the AFC doesn't look like it has a bunch of juggernauts. You know, the Colts look really good. Jacoby Brissett just pushed them to the brink in Indy. So, like, I don't think that team's infallible. I don't know. It feels pretty wide open.
Yeah. I mean, I'm focused. I think early in the year, I'm just very like division focused. You know,
I think
like
that's a good way to be because there's so much that's
late in the
missing.
year, I start worrying. Yeah. Late in the year, I start like once they're at the point where I feel like, which I made this mistake last year because I got to this point a little too early. But you know, late in the year, once I feel like they're safely, you know, in the playoff picture, probably going to win the division.
Once you start seeing the graphics pop up, right? Like that's
exactly.
We just started to get.
That's when I start.
We just started to get like Christmas commercials, like full force or like kind of popping up. But then a sign of that in football life is the playoff graphic that they flash up and start doing it like constantly, the who's in the hunt, whatever. And we're not to that point yet. So I think it's smart to just focus on the division.
Yeah. So like I would say that I mean the Browns obviously don't scare me. The Ravens just fell to 1-5, right? Only 4 teams have made the playoffs after starting 1-5. That's another stat that I saw pop on my screen today.
Do you know? Now this is maybe interrogating you about a stat that you just saw on social media and whatever, and that's fine if you don't have this answer. Do we know when that happened?
Sorry, only 4 teams since 1970 have started 1-5 and made the playoffs. The Ravens, after the bye and hopefully with Jackson back, hope to be the 5th. That is from Jonathan Jones. NFL and CBS. So that's what I got.
Yes.
Let's hope he's right.
My only question about that,
I don't know.
The only reason I asked that is because like just recently expanded to 7 playoff teams. That is going to help your chances. But if we're focusing on the division, all the focus should be on winning the division. And the Steelers now have a really significant advantage. I said last week that I would still favor the Ravens to win the division just because the quarterback factor and nothing has really changed because I anticipated that the Ravens would lose to the Rams without Lamar Jackson, and I anticipated that the Steelers would beat the Browns. So I'm not going to say I've totally flipped and the Steelers now they have to win it. But eventually, right? You got to go. Man, that's a big lead.
Yeah, I think Thursday's huge,
massive
like,
in my opinion.
Yeah, because like, you know, let's say the
5-1 to
Bengals
1-5 versus 4-2 to 1-5 feels like a chasm.
Yeah, so like let's say the Bengals lose today to the Packers. You know, this could look bad if people are watching it.
I don't think anyone's going to blame you for that prediction.
Yeah. So if it's 4-1 versus 2-4 Bengals team, the Steelers are able to win that on short rest. I mean, that's huge because then they get more rest, obviously going into the rest of their schedule here, which is going to be, you know, like you said, Packers, Colts, tougher teams. So, you know, I do have like, I just have Thursday circled on my calendar. I just feel like, you know, in terms of like early season, like divisional matchups. And I know that the Bengals don't have Joe Burrow and I know it's Joe Flacco and like, I shouldn't be that scared of Joe Flacco, but Joe Flacco beat us when he was on the Colts. He beat us on the Ravens, obviously. Funny.
And Mike Tomlin this year had that weird comment about like,
about Yourish.
Yes, I was telling my team not to hurt Anthony Richardson because I didn't want Joe Flacco to go into the game, which is just
he's right though. He's right though.
He's right. Also, wild thing to say about it. Like, why did Anthony Richardson need to catch that stray right now? Not a stray, direct shot right now. That was just so strange and perfectly Mike Tomlin. But yeah, I get scared when they're playing Joe Flacco. Absolutely. They're going to play, especially on a short week, they're going to sit back in cover 3, and Joe Flacco knows where to go. Like, he knows the answers to that test. And you just hope that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins don't eat you alive. And they can, I mean, that's one of the best receiving corps in the NFL. So that is a massive game, as you said.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what Burrow's timeline right now.
I think there's a chance he doesn't even come back. Like, it's
right.
long.
So, like, if he doesn't come back, I feel safe that, like, the Bengals are.
I do, regardless. But, like, I think they're cooked. And I think that team, I think even with Burrow, that team would not be contending for the division, because I think the construction was so wildly flawed. Like, paying 2 receivers that much money when you're paying your quarterback that much money just doesn't make any sense. The trench play has eroded so much in Cincinnati that it was a nonsensical way to build a team. You see, this is a diatribe, but you see, like, okay, we're paying Josh Allen. We can no longer pay Stephon Diggs. We're paying Patrick Mahomes. We can no longer pay Tyreek Hill. It's just really difficult. And if you're paying a quarterback that much money, you should expect them to give you requisite production, regardless of who's catching passes. And then the Bengals said, we're paying you, Joe Burrow. We'll pay Jamar Chase. And we'll also pay T. Higgins. And we'll have nothing else. And we'll get into a weird contract standoff with Trey Hendrickson and our first-round pick, because we don't want him to have a fully guaranteed first year on his contract for no reason. Like, that is just a terribly run franchise. And I don't think there's any chance that they remotely compete for this division. So it is Steelers-Ravens flat out, in my opinion. And the Ravens are also just bad. That defense is bad.
Yeah, it has not been pretty. You know, in a few weeks here, I mean, hell, I mean, they've got the Bears after a bye, Dolphins after that.
That Bears game won't be
Vikings,
easy.
Browns, Jets. Yeah, well, that's, you know, after that Bears game, I mean, the Vikings game probably won't be easy either. But you've got Dolphins.
It gets easier. Jets, like, they've had a brutal schedule.
Brown, Bengals, then Steelers. So yeah, I think late in the year it could get a little iffy once, like, Lamar comes back, and if their offense can somehow put all the pieces together. But, like, the idea of the Steelers blowing, like, a 4-game lead to them, they had a pretty big more at that point.
Pretty big lead last year.
I know. It's not impossible. It's definitely not impossible. The Steelers' end of year schedule last year is something I won't forget for a very long time.
They got
it was one of the most brutal.
One
of the most brutal that I've ever
just
seen.
Absurd.
It's not great this year either, but at least there are, like, a few games in there where I can be like, okay, I feel like they could win this.
And at least they took care of business against the teams they were supposed to beat early, because it looks like Seattle is good.
Seattle is
good.
And
okay, you lost that one. You had a weird special teams thing. You've beaten all the other teams you're supposed to beat, including, you kind of got gifted one against New England. I'm not going to consider, like, that a good win, because New England lost that game, like, with but I don't know. It is the same problem I ran into last year talking about this team, where eventually they rack up enough wins where you find it hard to be like, I don't think they're very good. And in my heart of hearts last year, I didn't think they were very good. I think this team is better than last year's team. And I feel comfortable saying that. I don't feel comfortable saying they're now good enough to win a playoff game, but they're getting closer.
You
might wear me down.
I just flashed back to week 1 against the Jets. After I was watching that London game this morning, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this team almost beat us. But yeah, that's a different conversation, because I was seeing all the Justin Fields, Mike Tomlin commentary this morning about how right Tomlin was, and, like, I was like, short-sighted Steelers fans don't realize we almost lost to that team.
Yeah. Oh man, it's the NFL. You win close games, and Tomlin wins close games, and this one, thankfully, Was not close. Do you have
Yeah.
any real closing thoughts? Because we've almost got an hour here, and I just feel like this was a game coming in where I'll say it, they handled business.
Yeah, this is exactly what I expected. This is
This
the
is not what
standard.
I
Is the
expected.
standard.
I will tell you that I text my uncle before every game. He texts me his score prediction. I text mine, and I said Steelers 20-18, and I thought it was just going to be like gross and insanely stupid, and they were going to win. And I was going to come on here and be like, I can't stand watching this team, and I'm done with it. And they didn't do that, and I am thrilled that they didn't do that. This is the happiest I've ever been. That game was boring as hell. This is the happiest I've ever been to be bored for 3 hours ever.
Yeah. My parting words are let's watch Thursday. I feel like we'll have a lot more to say after Thursday. I'll either be much happier or much more sad because it'll be kind of a dose of reality, but hopefully much happier because like that would put the division in very good hands. That's all I'll say.
And we'll be back with you on the Still Curtain podcast for an instant reaction podcast after that Thursday night game. It's a loaded week of podcasts on the Still Curtain podcast. I'll be back for my deep dive tomorrow at 1:30. Tommy and Shane will have their show on Wednesday at 1:30. And then Mark and I will reconvene on Thursday night. It's going to be a lot of fun. You better be subscribed and you better be here for all of those episodes. That's going to do it for us today. The Steelers are leading the AFC North at 4-1 after beating the Cleveland Browns 23-9. And we're feeling pretty good about it. So we'll talk to you later this week, multiple times for me. And until then, have a good one and go Steelers.